Okay, you need to do some communication theory research, and you're being requested to use Communication and Mass Media Complete, one of our communication studies specific resources. So on the library's homepage is a database. So we click on database. There's a drop-down menu, which is alphabetical. Communication and Mass Media Complete comes up, and hit go. That's usually how I get to my resources if I know the name of them. So this could look familiar. EBSCO provides access to a lot of our resources, but in this case, we're searching something very specific, Communication and Mass Media Complete. So my research, my sample search, I'm looking at uses and gratification theory in social media use. And I'm going to get a little more specific later on when I see the titles of the things that come up. So if I go with uses, and all of a sudden, EBSCO starts suggesting things for me. So conveniently, uses and gratification theory pops up. So we'll hit search, and 249 things come up. So this is a perfect case I want to point out that I'm searching for these three words, uses, gratification, and theory, and it found them. But I want to say that there are cases when a lot of these things that come up, here's a good example, doesn't have the word theory with it. Theory comes up as a subject term, but the title of this doesn't have theory in it. If they didn't use the subject term, I wouldn't have gotten this. If they never used the word theory in the subject, I would not have found this because I asked for theory. What I'm getting at is, I think we're being too specific. I think we need to just search for uses and gratification, because that is a shorthand way of referring to uses and gratification theory. And sure enough, even the first one that comes up doesn't have theory attached to it. We have more results. That seems counterintuitive, but it is easier for us to get narrower from a larger instance than it is to get larger from a smaller instance, okay? So, uses and gratification. And like I said, I'm interested in social media. Great. But something I want to point out as well. What if the researcher for the article that I'm looking for never uses the word social media? What if they're only interested in Twitter? So I want to make sure I'm getting all of my social media covered. So that's where OR comes in. It's our Boolean operator. As long, here we go, EBSCO suggests social media or social networking sites or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. As long as one of these terms shows up, great. I don't care which one, as long as it's one of them. Because in this world, this field, this box that we just filled out, is now the idea of social media. I don't care which one comes up as long as it's one of them, okay? Search, 232 things. We got smaller because we added this, all right? So what are we looking at here? We have PDF full text, we have academic journals and conference proceedings. Academic journal articles show up in academic journals. Conference proceedings are basically someone going to a conference, presenting some research that they've done, and then publishing it in the proceedings. It's kind of like a journal. But what if we see PDFs, we see HTMLs? What if there is no PDF or HTML? There's this yellow and black Find It button. What's happening is Communication and Mass Media Complete knows this article exists, but doesn't have access to it. It can't provide you the full text, but it knows it's there. The library provides this Find It button for you to get to it. Maybe. I say maybe, and I'll show you why in just a second. In a perfect world, the Find It button will get you to where you need to go, but it doesn't happen all the time. So let's see, this case, Find It, it does point me to it. There's a full text button right here. It's in a different location. So if we click on that link, sure enough, here's our article. Abstract, introduction, great. That's one case where it does work. Here's another Find It button. I'm going to click on that, but unfortunately, we don't have full text access. So what happens is we don't subscribe to this journal. We can't subscribe to every journal that's out there. We just don't have the money for it, okay? What we do provide is a button right here, Request from Library Interlibrary Loan. If you click on that, what happens is it'll go into the interlibrary loan system, which you already have an account for, fill out a form for this journal article. It already knows it's a journal article with all the relevant information. You don't even have to type a thing, and hit submit. And when you hit submit, the system will go out and find an institution that has a subscription to this journal and email you a PDF of this article. Wonderful. It may show up today. It may show up tomorrow. It may show up the day after tomorrow. It's hard to say. I can't guarantee a date. The newer the article usually ends up being faster, okay? So Find It can be extremely useful for you. Like I said, this one came up with a full text link. This one did not. You had to go through interlibrary loan. So let's look at some more options over here in this resource. On the left-hand side, there's a button for full text. If you click on that, it will limit to things you can read right now at this moment. So only the things that have HTML or PDF. Now, as I just showed you, the Find It button could actually take you to full text, but we can't guarantee it. The full text gets rid of that. Okay, if you're pressed for time, full text will give you the things only you can read right now. If you're required to use peer-reviewed sources, there's a button for that right here. If you're finding things in a different language, you can narrow it down to English, unless your instructor allows you to use another language. In this case, I don't think she would. Geography. If you're interested in only uses and gratification theory for social media use in the United States, you can limit to just that, all right? Also, I know that you have to have 2 sources published since 2016. Conveniently, there's a date range here. 2016. Wonderful. So I said, even now, 112 things is a little much to wade through. What I like to do is when I get to this point, look at the titles of things that come up and see what is interesting to you. Being a librarian, I'm always interested in privacy. So this seems great. It's covering uses and gratification theory of social media use with the idea of privacy. Great. So I'm going to click on this PDF and see what we come up with. Well, it certainly looks like a peer-reviewed source. How can we tell? Okay. So it is published in a journal. The researchers are associated with a research institution, in this case, university, and we have citations. Also, a little less important, the format looks like a peer-reviewed source. We have an abstract, we have the introduction, we have all the other sections, methodology, conclusions, and findings. So you're also required to find 3 sources that have to use original research. The abstract will tell you if it's original research by the way it's written. This was gathered using a survey from 353 social media users. So this research was a survey of 353 people. Great, this is original research. If it was not, it would say something along the lines of, this is a study of the literature, of previous resources, of previous studies, something like that. What's great about the way this article is written, and a lot of peer-reviewed sources are written, is it'll make your life easier when it comes to searching too. We had 112 resources, 112 articles that came up in the results list. Read the abstract. It's the entire article summarized in 1 paragraph. If this is not interesting to you, skip it. You have 111 things to go through, okay? If the abstract is interesting to you, what I want you to do is go to the very end, the last thing. Conclusions, findings, more research. What this is ideas from the authors of what should happen next. This article, the research of this article actually finished here. This is saying, hey, we found out XYZ. What would be interesting is if you go look at ABC. This could give you ideas of where you want to go look for more stuff, okay? If the abstract is interesting and the conclusion findings are interesting, congratulations, you found one of your sources. Super interesting, useful tools that this database provides you. I'm going to head to the detailed records page because it's easier to see, all right? They also show up on the right-hand side of the PDF. There is a cite button that will generate a citation for you in the most common format. So APA, Chicago Turabian, MLA. Copy and paste it in your bibliography, your annotated bibliography, you're good to go. Please check your writer's manual just to make sure that it is correct. There is an email button. Put in your email address. Change your citation format to what you want. And sure enough, you'll get an email back to this page with a PDF attached and a bibliographic citation in your email. There's no reason for you not to have a correct citation, okay? One thing I want to point out, last thing I want to point out, this URL at the top will not work if you want to get back to this page. This doesn't last. This might last a minute. Email yourself, copy and paste the citation, download the PDF, do something to get a concrete evidence of this article, because if you copy and paste this URL into a document, you cannot get back to here, okay? So use the tools on the right to get back here.